All right, we back on our podcast. Listen, we're here, episode 9. We got a really good guest today. He's a winning coach. My name is Richard Daniels. I'm your co-host.
I'm Rodney White, your other co-host. Coach, before we get started, what we like to do here on our podcast is give all the coaches that get on our podcast their flowers. We feel like, we're so busy coaching, everybody's coaching, everybody trying to be the best coach, but we don't do a good job of giving each other flowers as coaches. And what you have done at Bishop McGuiness, also what you have done with the Spartans organization, is definitely a pat on the back of a great success you have. I mean, many kids going Division I, Division II, or Division III, NIA, or junior college out of your program is amazing. And then what you have done at Bishop and just changing the program over there since you've been there. We was talking about it, texting on side me and Rich, 23 years of being over there at Bishop McGuiness. Like, that's amazing. Tell everybody about yourself and how'd you get out of Bishop McGuiness?
Yeah, thanks for your kind words. Thank you guys for having me on. This has been a great podcast. I've enjoyed watching your previous guests. But any success that we've had through Spartans or Bishop McGuiness, I feel like the Lord has blessed the work of our hands. We try to work really hard and be good to the families that we have been with and been blessed to coach. And I've been surrounded with a lot of good people, whether that be school administrators or people helping run the Spartans, or obviously assistant coaches, and then ultimately we've had good players that are good people. And I think anytime that you're around good people and winners. That winning is just going to become a byproduct of that. If people are winning in life, they're going to win on the court as well.
Coach, just wanna go over a few of your stats. I'm a stats guy. Winning two state championships was definitely amazing. Coach of the year, Northwest Conference Coach of the Year 2009. 2009 Greensboro News Record Coach of the Year, 2009 Triad Report Forsyth County Coach of the Year. Team won your state championship. 2019 was Journal All Northwest Coach of the Year. 2022 honorable mention Coach of the Year. Coach, how do you stay humble as a coach of all the success you had so far?
Yeah. Um, well, I think the humility part is, my faith is really important to me, and I think the word tells us just to stay humble in all things. Like there's no room for any boasting or anything. So we are proud of those accomplishments. But keep it real too. We don't get awards as coaches unless we have good players.
Yeah.
And that's kind of I learned that lesson early on. Sometimes you learn that lesson through losing. You guys may feel the same way, but I feel like some of the best years that I've coached, like I've coached my best, may not have been the years that we had the most talent or the best players where we win those awards. But I think those awards are awesome. I hope we win a bunch more. But
Yeah.
I think ultimately it goes back to you got to have talented players first of all.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
so um, we've been blessed to have some talented guys.
Yeah, Coach. I follow you on social media a lot, and I really love what you guys do. I think you make it a family setting. I didn't realize that you had been there that long until I started doing my research. For Bishop to have such a good tradition, how do you balance like the championship expectations and the school's missions and the values?
Yep. I think I was fortunate to get at Bishop. I think, like I said, I feel like the Lord's hand has been on my career from the beginning. And I think that it's been a great fit because the school's motto is to excel that you might better serve. And I think, well, what better way? That's exactly what we're trying to do as a basketball program is to excel. We want to excel on the court. Hopefully, our guys learn some lessons through basketball with us, or when they move to the next level, that um, they excel in, and that they learn how to serve others in whatever arena that their life takes them to.
Coach, how does your faith plays a role in how you lead your team and adversity and in the pressure and high expectation every year of Bishop McGuiness? Because you guys are the top of the top, 1A, 2A ball. Like how do you handle that every year?
Yeah, and you guys know this too. Like nobody puts more pressure on you than you.
So,
Um, I mean, you guys live it just like I do. Those wins seem like they're so much easier to move on from than the losses. Like we're coming off a loss yesterday, and I thought about it like, I mean, every 30 minutes today,
Yeah.
just I'm
Yeah.
sure just like you guys do when you lose. But like I said, my faith is really important to me, and my life verse is Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. Trust the Lord with your whole heart, lean not to your own understanding, and in all your ways acknowledge Him, and He'll direct your paths. So, anytime I'm feeling really stressed out, goes to the playoffs or whatnot, prayer life's really important. I have to pray for, peace and, to be relaxed in the games and, not to just drive myself crazy in the hours outside of the games or
Yeah.
leading up to it. And there's always chatter about your teams, whatnot,
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
inside or outside. But
Yeah.
I've also learned I've got to please, an audience of one and me. I've got to be true to myself, but it's a bigger thing. Like coaching is a ministry, and we try to keep that in perspective. Don't always do a great job of it and get caught up in the competitiveness a lot of times.
Yeah.
But just trying to staying in prayer and staying in the word, especially in season, is a challenge. But I think that's one of the ways we try to tackle that part.
Yeah. Not absolutely. So, uh, coming up on 400 wins, close to it. I saw that. Um, One, that's a huge accomplishment. Over 300 wins as a coach. That means one, there's a lot of discipline in your program. That means that not only are you teaching the discipline part, you're teaching the consistency because your teams change from year to year. Being that you are now in year 23, how has your philosophy evolved from 2004 to now?
Mhm. Well, I think that when I first started, I felt like I was going to come in and I had something special. Like because I'm the coach, I'm smart enough. We're going to win.
Yeah.
You learn that lesson too. Like you don't win if you don't have good players.
Right.
So, I think that that's somewhere I've really grown from. It's not about me. It's about these players. And I think one thing I learned early on in my career, the way I got the job, the previous coach got let go in October.
Mhm.
And, it was October 15th. I was the JV coach. Said, well, now you're the varsity coach.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we had a very, very good team, really talented, like high level players all over. But
Yeah.
the team, there was no connectivity.
Mhm.
So it was just 5 guys out there playing, whoever's on the court. So I think through that year, I learned how important the connectedness of a team is and team
Mhm.
chemistry. But then from there, from year to year, I think the one thing that stands out to me is how good you got to be at little things. And the little things are the separators. When two good teams play, it's going to come down to one bounce or one shot or who can execute their baseline out of
Mhm.
bounds play best. So the little things, we really try to stress doing the little things well.
Yeah.
When you look back at your 2, state championship runs, um, what was the defining moment that separate those teams, and everyone else?
I thought about this question, and I know there's going to be one Forsyth County coach that don't want to hear this, but I hope he does. So Gould, text me when you hear this, if you hear this. The thing that on those 2 championship runs in 2009 and then again in 2019, the defining moment was probably beating Winston-Salem Prep. We had to go through them both the years we got our championships. And we never beat Prep in the regular season. Like you guys know some of the talent that they had on their teams with Navy. I mean, like you can go down a long list of it. And Andre coached those teams too, man. It wasn't just
They
rolling out
did.
the ball. He's a great X and O coach, and I think beating Prep and getting over that hump of beating them were really defining moments for those teams that kind of springboarded us to titles just because prep was just such a powerhouse back in, from 2007 to 2020. And, I think they're on the way back up now as well. But I think beating them was really springboarded us to a few more wins in the playoffs those years.
Yeah. One name I'm a shout out. When I was in school playing, I would always read the newspaper after every, Friday night game, and I would always see Ari Toomey name in the newspaper every after every game, man. How special was he for your team?
Man, he's he was so special for our program and me personally as a coach because he came in early in my career and he made everything look easy. And actually, my son is named after him as well.
Okay, okay.
He he was an excellent player on the court, but he was also an excellent young man off the court, and that meant a lot to me. But the stats he put up, Aaron scored 2,000 points in his career, and 700 of them were free throws. So I've had coaches that played against us tell me he's the only player they've ever seen. And this coach that told me this coached against Chris Paul when he was
Yeah,
at, he said, Aaron is the only player that I've ever seen that controlled your team, the other team, and the referees.
yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
he was such a special. He's one of a kind. He's actually now the head coach at University of Hartford.
I did see that. I was actually talking to somebody and we were just talking about players from our time, and that's one name that came up. So that was, that was interesting. I was like, I didn't realize that you were coaching there at the time. But man, listen, he was a special player.
Yeah, he was a killer. He looked like he could be singing in the choir, but then he could
Yeah,
give you 40.
yeah, yeah. So coach, you won coach 5 times in your career, right? Coach of the year. That speaks a lot to the consistency, which we talked about. What standards or habits have you allowed your program to sustain success year after year?
I think never being satisfied, never looking in the rearview mirror. I tell our guys all the time, champions are always hungry. And that's one thing I've tried to live out in front of them. Like we got to be passionate on day one, whether it's
Mm,
day one or day 51. Like
yeah,
I'm not us winning this week has nothing to do with what them teams in the past have done or what any award that anybody's won. You got to go get it, and champions are always hungry is the best way I can say it. And I think I've always tried to keep myself that way or, kind of come up with something to motivate myself to give me an edge and just never looking back, always looking forward with something to prove.
One thing that I saw that you post a lot, coach, is when you do win coach of the year on your page is your assistant coaches are the coach of the year also.
Mhm.
Um, how do what role does your coaching staff plays in the success of your championship success, and how do you empower them for the season during the season?
Yeah, it's so integral. Assistant coaches or associate coaches, whatever you want to say. We give our assistant coaches lots of responsibility. And whether that be some years they're full in charge of the defense, or maybe they're full in charge of the baseline out of bounds plays. Uh, most every year, our assistant coach is in charge of subbing, so it kind of helps me focus on the offense or whatever it is I'm coaching that year. Um, Usually I focus on the offense mainly, but it kind of depends on our staff. Been blessed to have such a great staff. We got Caleb Money, who's gone on to become a head coach. He's won state championships and shining light. Herb Lyles was with us last year. I wish we could have kept Herb for longer, but he got the opportunity at North Rowan and he's killing it there. And then Ryan Haydinger, Xavier Carter, Michael Herschel, we have this year. Like we have such a great staff, and each guy brings a unique skill set to the program. We've been blessed to keep guys for more than 1 year most of the time.
hmm
Alex, he had been with us in AAU for several years.
yeah,
So the more we can keep a staff together, I think the better it is over the years because everybody's good at certain things.
yeah,
Yeah, I'm not good at a whole lot of stuff in the game, to be
mm,
honest. So it's important for us to have good coaches around us, and we just try to let people be the best version of themselves.
yeah. I do like that you guys highlight your coaching staff on the website, under your school website or under your basketball team's website. I try to always look at other teams and see how we can mirror certain things. And I think that's one thing, you guys have your own specific athletics part under the website, which highlights strictly basketball, your coaching staff, everything that they can find within the school. And I think that's a big part of, that culture and that camaraderie and those type of things because sometimes people do wanna feel important, especially assistant coaches,
Mhm.
because sometimes they don't always get the credit. We all been assistant coaches and, you don't feel like you get the credit sometimes. So I think that is great that you guys do that.
Yeah,
Moving into
100%. Everybody's coming to practice and, everybody's working a full-time job and coming to
yeah,
practice and,
yeah,
we're all making the same sacrifice. And I tell our guys, like, I don't care whose idea it is. I just want to win. Like, it doesn't
absolutely.
matter to me if I come up with what we're doing or you come up with it. I just want to win at the end of the day.
And I think that's definitely great because like on my staff, Coach Doug is the defensive guy, and it's crazy because he also coached football. He's a defensive coordinator. And I'm all about scoring. I don't want to score. I mean, I don't play against both of you guys, but y'all know I ain't playing on defense. I'm trying to score. I'm trying to score. I always look at him like, man, what should we be running? And, I always want my staff to feel like they're important also. Like you said, they are coming to practice. We all got full-time jobs. And sometimes, outside of basketball, you still got to come be ready, take care of the kids and be there for the kids. So I always try to like give my guys room to grow and do their own thing. And I know Rich probably definitely do the same thing with his staff because assistant coaches are really important, man. I mean, they always behind the scenes, like Rich said. And when we win championships, of course, we get interviewed first. But I mean, it's all about your assistant coaches and you're having a strong staff that you can trust for sure.
Yeah. So coach, just kind of before we go into our next question, you mentioned the NC Spartans. They've been around for a long time. You are the founder. How did that come about?
Yeah, it's funny you asked about Aaron Toomey earlier. That came about because of him. When he was in 11th grade, we felt like he was going to be, a high level player. So he needed to play on a team that played in the live period in front of coaches. Well, we didn't have anything then, so he went to play with another organization, and he split time with another point guard. And
Mhm.
I think the other point guard was really good too. So I think that what I saw during that experience, we needed something for our guys where they could be kind of the main guy or not the main guy, but you know what I'm saying? Like not
Yeah,
have
you
to
can
split
highlight them.
time
You
with
can highlight.
somebody else. Because I thought that hurt him in his recruitment. It ended up working out for him, but the reason we started it was just to have a local place or started out with our Bishop guys to play. But fortunately it's grown to much bigger than that now. And we are fortunate to get good players from around the area and even the state that play for us. And over 100 guys from our program have gone on to play college basketball at various levels, and we're really proud of that. And just the relationship we've been able to form with people and players over the years, it's really cool. Rod, same thing with the Bulls. I know, I think we kind of came up together through that, and I'm sure you feel the same way. The relationships you form with those families just is something you always carry with you.
It's definitely a family environment with the Kernersville Bulls, and Thomas went over there to the Spartans for a little bit and played, and he ended up going to Garner Road, but you guys always been organized. Our little teams keep battling here and there at portion tournaments here and there, so it's hard working organization. It's tough. Rich has got to All Carolina now, so he knows also. And Rich told me, I mean, we talk all the time. I was like, man, I think I'm done. I think I'm just gonna watch the little boys grow, and I'm gonna sit back. And then he was like, listen, I can't sit back and watch nobody else coach my kids over the summer. And they hit me, and I'm like, yeah, he right. Like, I mean, I want to have hands on my guys, that's I'm gonna be on varsity and see what they're playing, and because it's important to have the kids playing on a solid team in the summertime, and a solid coach that can let them get rid of the crazy bad habits. So that's why, appreciate that, Rich, because I was ready to be like, nah, I'm done, I'm out of it. But like, you're right, man. Like, I mean, I have one of my kids that's a senior this year playing 16U. I'm like, dude, I ain't gonna get better playing 16U.
Yeah.
So it's so I'm glad you got the Spartans, man. It's great to have your kids playing them because you can always have a hand on them and see what they got going on throughout the summer.
Yeah, same. And with you guys being local, I know we'll all have some of each other's guys. And I just was going on record saying I feel comfortable with my guys playing for y'all too, because it's the same way. Like just to know that they're being coached and being
Mhm.
told the right things and taught the game is so important.
Yeah, I've also developed a lot of good relationships with other coaches based upon AAU. One person that I want to highlight is Carter Phillips. Carter, him and my brother about the same age, and they grew up kind of playing against each other. And so when he got the job at West Stokes, we just kind of formed that relationship in the same conference. And so when he was coaching this summer, we talked a lot just about the kids and those things. And so I think what you do with as far as forming your coaching staff, I really like that. All the guys are coaches that are involved. They're really good men outside of being basketball coaches.
Yeah, amen. I think so. And funny you mentioned Carter. Carter played for the Spartans and then
Yeah,
became a coach for the Spartans. So that's
yeah,
always cool. Y'all have had some guys like that too. So
yeah.
that's a really really neat thing.
When we talk about championships, what separates, and this is not just your players, but in your opinion, what separates players who win championships versus the players who are just putting up numbers?
Yeah. Two things I would say that I would answer that question. Number one, I think that great players elevate the other players around them. And I think, you go back to Aaron Toomey, he's one of the top players that we've had come through. He made those guys around him so much better. Just he just elevated everybody around them. So I think that's one thing about great players. And then another thing that I kind of always say is you can't win with losers. Like you might win some games with losers, but you're not
Yeah,
winning a championship with
yeah,
losers.
yeah,
And not to say that everybody that puts up big numbers is a loser, but what I do say, if that's what you're gunning for is yourself and your numbers, you're not winning a championship unless you're like some uber talented guy.
yeah,
I think the championship teams we've had, the best players are great teammates. The best players elevate the other guys around them, and they are good people off the court too. I think those things have gone hand in hand from my experience.
yeah. Me and Rod talk about this a lot with our teams. How do you breed the competitiveness in a generation of like kids that necessarily aren't as motivated as the past? Like I feel like this generation is way more skilled, but I don't know if they're more competitive. How do you breed that championship, competitiveness amongst your program?
Dude, man, I wish I knew the answer to that question because I know that we all struggle with that. I think that the easy answers are to make everything a competition in practice, have a penalty for the losers, whatever that may be. But and also over the last couple of years, we've had the blessing of having some depth on our team, and that's
Hmm.
made our practices very competitive as well.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
even this year, we've had a senior and a junior that have played before that started at the beginning of the year. Some other guys outplayed them, so they
yeah,
kind of slid down the depth chart some. And I think that the bench can create a lot of competition too
yeah,
within your team. And you've seen like we've seen some of those guys fight back a little bit with that.
yeah,
So if you're blessed with a little bit of depth, I think that can definitely help. But that's for sure a challenge. I would love to hear you guys' thoughts on what you guys have come up with that as far as how you create that competitiveness as well.
I think for me, at NCLA, I had to come in and change kinda like the whole culture of like, we trying to win. Like, we gonna win. Like, it's not like we just happy to be in the games or happy to be close or we're trying to win every game, and it starts in practice. And like I come back to my coaches again. I'll take a 5 because we only got 10 guys. We don't have depth. We don't have no depth. So I take a 5, and Coach Doug will take a 5. You know, we're scrimmaging at the end of practice like it's a real game. Like it's a real game, and I'm coaching, sweating like I do usual, and Coach Doug is screaming like it's a real game, and it brings the competitive natures at practice. It don't matter if you're the best player or the last guy off the bench. I tell our guys, I said, listen, you guys are probably getting a lot of reps in practice than any other kids are because you go to other schools, it's 15 guys or
mhm,
13 guys on the team. Only 10 guys can scrimmage. So most of the times, those 3 guys on the sideline just watching.
yeah,
My school, my team, those 10 guys is there, you on the court because there ain't no subs.
mhm,
And you better hope you hope you get a water break here and there because it ain't no subs.
yeah,
But just competing, loser got to run. Loser got half court push ups. Like things of that nature make you get the most out of the kids, and they start competing hard, and you can just see them practice. And my guys, man, I'm just excited about how they, competing in practice, but they like best friends off the court, which is
Yeah,
definitely always great. They go to Chick-fil-A or Dario's together. So I don't care as long as we compete on the court in practice, we'll take care of everything else.
yeah.
And I think
Um,
that goes back too to another life lesson, man. You got to be a competitor, like, because you're going to be competing for spots in college or, whatever it may be your whole life. If you're not a competitor, you're not going to be successful, man. We got
Yeah.
to learn that now. This is a lesson we got to teach these young men through
yeah,
basketball. You got to come every day with a chip on your shoulder, here to get better, being a dog, like,
yeah,
if you want to be
yeah,
successful.
And
yeah. Nah, that I think that's the toughest thing is just like trying to instill that, that dog mentality and letting them know like you have to do this because whatever, character skills you get from basketball, they are going to carry or sports in general are going to carry over into life. And you go back to talking about your assistant coaches. I feel like with our assistant coaches, all of them are coming from winning programs or, really good players in their high school times. And that mindset carries into our practices and our games. And I feel like as coaches, sometimes I think we're more upset about losing or, we getting at the refs about, certain calls because it's just a competitive, nature. It's natural for us. And so our practices they get tough. We got to do, tough man drills and you have to, like you said, put them on the line as consequences for losing and those kind of things, and just getting them to understand that the mental toughness is just as important as the physical toughness. Again, I've watched both programs. Like I said, I love what you do, Coach Thompson. We've talked previously before about AAU and possibly joining the Spartans, and for me, it's kind of the same way. I have been fortunate enough to be around a lot of kids where like I feel like I gotta be hands on because sometimes these kids don't have any help, and like you're that person that created that space for them to, get to the next level, at least have a platform for them to get to the next level. Same thing with Rod with the Bulls. It's like we all doing, God's work. I said this in a podcast previously. This is how I feel like I receive my blessings. It's just, through coaching. Cause you just, you never know who you impacted.
and
Hey,
and, and
man,
just like
yeah, like I heard something, Tom Tang, the head coach at Kansas State, he
Mhm.
was talking about his faith and, what he tries to do every day. And he had said a quote that stuck with me. It said, every day preach the gospel and sometimes use words. And he said that, and that really stuck with me, like how much of an impact we as coaches will have on these young men,
Yeah.
and how we gotta hold ourselves to that high standard above
Mhm.
all else to set the
Yeah.
example for the guys that we're blessed to coach.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and the great thing about being a good coach and how we know we're doing a good job as coaches is guys come back. I see all the time, coach, you post at Bishop, you got all your players come back, sometimes scrimmage to other guys. And, I'm getting that right now at NCLA. I had Landon come back in scrimmage. I had Ethan come back and Caleb came back over the break. And I have other guys that coach AAU that come to NCLA and just to scrimmage and and just play a little pickup with the guys. And I think that helps my guys say like, dang, we got a really good coach that got these grown men coming back off of work that come
Yeah.
scrimmage with us. And that says a lot about your program and also Rich program. Rich got all the college guys coming in
Mhm.
the morning, the scrimmage his guys, work with his guys. So it says a lot
Yeah.
about us as coaches also.
Yeah. Um, what loss or failure taught you the most as a coach, even through winning titles? What loss or failure do you think has really taught you the most?
I would say that would be a three-part answer for me. I think the first part would be, like I said, when I made that jump, kinda got thrown into the varsity job in '04, '05, and we had the really talented team that, just didn't mesh. That kinda taught me the value of team chemistry and togetherness on a team. And then the second part was we've had some seasons where we lost close to as many games as we won, close to
Mhm.
500 seasons. We haven't had many losing seasons, but when you're close to 500, it's sometimes really tough. I think
Yeah.
those seasons taught me that you should never take winning for granted.
Mhm.
Sometimes the year after that state championship, you breathe a little bit and you rest.
Yeah.
I mean, that's when you lose. I think that taught me that you can't take winning for granted.
Yeah.
Keep doing the little things every day, and you got to keep being a competitor every day because what you did in the past is not going to affect tomorrow.
Yeah.
Um, and then one loss that really stuck with me that I don't think I'll ever get over in 2023, we're in the regional final against Eastern Randolph. We're up
Yeah.
20 points at the half. We're 16 minutes away from going to our third state championship. We
Yeah.
ended up losing the game. They came out, hit two straight threes, so 20 points went right down to 14 right off the bat. And we
Yeah.
were playing that whole second half not to lose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we played not to lose and we lost. We missed 14 free throws in that game and, didn't make it there. That's in the regional final, man. And I felt
Yeah.
like
That's
we
tough.
were a better team. But I think what that taught me is never play not to lose, no matter what the
Mhm.
stage is. And
Yeah.
we've tried not to do that since we made that mistake. So I really learned a lot from that. It was an awful experience, but it was a learning experience for me.
Yeah. Yeah. So this question, coach, because at one point in time in coaching, young coaches wasn't the thing. Like nobody wanted young coaches to come and help out. I don't know how Rich's experience was, but my experience, it was kind of tough being a young coach. You had to learn on your own. For your young coaches who aspire to lead championship programs, such as myself, such as Rich, what discipline must commit early in their career or in our career?
Yeah, I would say I've got a four-part answer for that one. Number one would be bloom where you're planted. I think a lot of us in coaching sometimes get caught up in where do I want to be? Where am I going to go? Like, can I get a college job or whatever? And I made the same mistake, you know. But when I decided to bloom where I was planted, make the program I'm in right now the very best I can make it, I became a lot more satisfied with my career. The
Yeah.
second part would be control what you can control. You can't control the referees as much as we want to. You can't
Yeah.
control the referees. Um,
Yeah.
so control what you can control and coach your team. I think that would be the number one thing. There's a lot of chatter again from inside and out. There's a lot of people with opinions. We got one job, coach our team. We don't have to answer to what somebody says on a message board or what we hear somebody saying over here. Our job is to coach our team and stay focused. That
Yeah.
goes back to controlling what you can control. I can't control what all these other people around the city are saying, but I can coach my team and I can control that. I can control my effort in coaching that and stay and concentrate on that. And then the last thing I would say for young coaches is to have an outlet, whatever that may be. For me, my faith's really important to me. I can always go to my faith
Yeah.
and, whether it may be working out or, whatever your outlet is, you gotta have something I think outside that kind of lets you let your hair down and breathe a little bit. You don't have to think about
Yeah.
basketball for a while because as
Yeah.
much as we love it, if we think about it 24/7, 365, we're not going to be the best version of ourselves from
Yeah.
November to March when we need to be the most. So those would be the things I would say that I would need to hear if I was speaking to my younger self.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's great advice. I think even for me in year 6 at Walkertown, it took me to by my 4th year to really, like, focus solely on just coaching and not, parents talking about kids leaving or other coaches trying to get our kid or, just I mean, what comes with the territory,
Right.
but it took me to about year 4 to really, like, Imma coach this way, Imma coach hard, and kids don't have to fall in line, or this may not be the program for them,
Hmm.
and you wanna love them all the same, you treat them all the same, but it's like, I have a job to do, and my job is to teach you lessons through basketball, and so, no, that's great advice because again, me as a JV coach, I probably would have never even thought I would go through a lot of this stuff as a head coach because you don't realize how much you go through as a varsity head coach and what people are, trying to put on you to do some of the stuff is impossible. Like, stuff that maybe parents can't even do themselves. But, man, definitely just that's great advice, focusing on yourself and like coaching your team.
What would you guys say is your outlet? I know, Coach, you said your faith. Rich, what would you say your outlet is? Because I know you all, Rich, you always in the gyms. What's your outlet? You say you would think you have.
Uh, for me, I try to just be more intentional with like downtime on the weekends. Like just not even looking at basketball, not, I mean, I watch the NBA in college, but as far as just like looking at game film or even thinking about the game, I try to just leave my phone somewhere in the room and try not to focus on base. As hard as it is, that's been the best thing for me on the weekends is like just not spending as much time, focusing on Walker Town, which is tough. But
Yeah,
you
man,
know,
don't that make you sad, coach? Like, cause 'cause I'm such a fan, like, I wanna
yeah,
watch the game, but I find myself, like, during the season, it's hard to watch, like, the most fun I have is the NCAA tournament when our
yeah,
season's over, and I can
yeah,
just sit back and be a fan, I don't have to be
yeah.
worried about playing South Stokes next week.
Yeah, yeah. Now listen, that now when basketball, even like during Christmas break, even though we playing, I went and watched Winston-Salem State girls play, and I was just like, okay, this is a breath of fresh air. Like I can just sit here. I don't have to yell. I don't have to, worry about coaching. And that's probably the best thing for me. Just kind of trying to find that downtime of not being in coach mode, not even answering questions about Walker Town. Like, you know, it's tough, man. It's
Yeah,
tough.
and I
It's
think
tough.
for me, when I had children, I think it made me a better coach because I tried to be the coach that I would want somebody to
Hmm.
be coaching my kids. And then
Yeah.
sometimes even now I'll come home. Like last night I came home, I was laying with my daughter at bedtime and she said, "Well, Daddy, why'd y'all lose?" I said, "Well, we didn't try to lose. The other team
Yeah.
just they score more
Yeah.
points than us, you know." So that
Yeah.
kind of brings everything into perspective, man. You get home and hug your children, hug your wife, and like yeah, that's a great outlet too, it puts it in perspective.
So for me, man, my outlet right now is just walk, like nature walks. I go walking trails and like have my music on, and it's just so relaxing. Also because it's like I go early in the morning because there's nobody out there but me, and it's like just perfect. It's no fans, there's no coaches. It's just me out there, and I can just really just focus, especially after like a Friday night game. You're like, oh my goodness, because I mean, I'm at the point now where win or lose a game, I come home and hop onto the app and start looking at our game, like I just didn't coach the game myself
Yeah.
because I want to see ways we can get better. Even when I work from home, somehow I'm watching all y'all games. I might pull on a Walker Town game, might put on a Bishop game. Let me see how good Thomas did today. So I'm always a fan of the game, but I also know how to step away from this computer and go take for a nature walk just to get my mind clear and get the kids everything I got the next day.
Yeah. Yeah. Um, so coach, we kind of wrapping up here. Give us a little bit. We getting ready to start up, the second half of conference for most teams. Give us a little bit of insight about your team, what you're looking forward to, and just kind of, what you think you guys are gonna do going forward in 2026.
Yeah, my team, we got a long way to go. We had a successful AAR, used to be the HACO Invitational.
Hmm.
We won 2 games in that. So for us to win a single game in that tournament is a big accomplishment for a small school. But this year we did something we've never done before. We won 2 games in it. We played Dudley to 4 overtimes. So
Yeah.
I've never been in a 4 overtime game, so that was wild. Um, but in 2026, we've got to get better at execution. We struggle trying to execute in the half court right now, which is odd because usually that's something we're pretty good at. But this year it's been a little different. But this team's got a lot of strengths too, so I'm not downplaying my team because I think we can make some noise come playoff
Mhm.
time. We've got a very competitive conference with Prep and South Stokes and a lot of the other schools around. So that'll be interesting. We've only got one conference game under our belt, so conference play is about to crank up. But I feel like if we can continue moving forward, I think we'll be in the mix at the end come playoff time, especially with 8 classifications. I mean, it's so different now. Yeah,
Yeah, it's way different.
yeah.
Yeah, coach, man, we are wishing you guys much success. Like I said, I am a huge fan of, basketball and programs, and like I said, I love what you do with Bishop McGuiness, and how you had that consistency year to year. Again, I know you're coming up on 400 wins at some point. Like, wishing you much success on that. And, anything I can do, I know we play South Stoke, so we may run into some teams and whatever. Please don't hesitate. I know you guys. We're gonna end up seeing each other all summer over at Rise this summer. So so we'll be able to have some conversations about the season. But we appreciate you, being a guest. Like I said, I think this is one of our more informative episodes. I think you gave some really good insight, and just even for me as a young coach, Rod, for a young coach, like we're always looking at how we can get better. And those coaches that have success, it's easy for us to look and say, hey, how do they run, their programs, so that we can kind of mirror or model, some of the things that you guys are doing.
For
Yeah,
sure.
thank you for those kind words, and I would say the feelings are mutual. Same way over here, and I'm looking at you guys too, and I learned from you guys as well. I remember sitting and watching your game at Rise, watching you guys play at Walkertown this summer, Coach.
Yeah.
So and Coach Rod, we've been competing against each other the last 4 years too. So feelings are mutual. A lot of respect for both of you guys, how you run your program. I learned from you guys too. So don't let's make sure we clear on that. I learned from you guys as well. So
We
thank you
appreciate
guys for having me on here.
Well, I'm just happy not in my conference no more. So, appreciate that. Appreciate
you. Yeah. 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 So listen, guys, this is episode 9 on our podcast. It'll be out first thing tomorrow. Coach, I'll make sure I invite you on the collab. We'll try not to blow up your mentions as much. Like I said, sometimes it could be a lot, your phone just going off all day, but we'll break up the mini clips, and then I'll tag you first thing tomorrow.
Yeah, that's all good. I need all the followers I can get, Coach.
Yes. Hey, on our podcast. Coach, thank you again.
All right,
Appreciate you,
thank you
coach.
guys.
All right,
Thanks.
take care.